Let's do New York City Part 2 with Angel, who's cracking a. What do you got there? What are you drinking, Angel?
It's actually called Two Chicks, which is really appropriate for what we're doing right now.
Oh, very nice.
It's
Very
a it's a
nice.
fancy cocktail in a bottle. Vodka, elderflower, and pear.
It's a little afternoon delight, shall I say?
Yeah, I thought, why not?
Perfect. So I'm just going to do a brief introduction. Hi, my name is Arusha from Push, a Cure fan documentary. I'm here with my guest, Angel, who I will hand over the mic to in a moment because she's a party planner for our New York City MSG portion. But this is part two of two what am I trying to say? Movie things I have about New York because there's a lot of people coming over from all over the world, um, and they've never been to New York, so I wanted to help them out. And so yesterday we did a lot of coverage on very basic, boring but important things like the fact that there's three airports. One is in New Jersey, which would be over here, sort of where Robert's face is. There's LaGuardia, and there's JFK. And Angel, I had told the people that, because some people said, how do you get from the airport to, wherever? And I said, well, you could take a cab, you could take an Uber, or you could take the subway. If you have any better idea than.
Well, if you fly into Newark, you could take the air train, which is really easy. I would say of the three airports, if you had a choice, um, all things being equal, I would fly into Newark for that reason. The air train is really easy. It's an easy way and it's cheap. Um, it's direct. Otherwise, all of your other options are there's a problem in one way or the other. The taxi is expensive, um, and the subway, I think, is a pain.
It
If
is,
you've got
but
luggage and stuff on the subway, for me that's too much. But
right. So there's
maybe
just a
other
lot.
people can deal with it better.
Yeah, no, no, totally. I mean, so I live in Brooklyn, so for me, JFK and LaGuardia are really, really easy. And if you're, you know, if taking the subway seems like an easy thing to you, there is the A train actually goes all the way from JFK all the way up to the area of Madison Square Garden. But anyway, the long and the short of it is, do your research and make sure you know what airport you're flying into. EWR, which is New Jersey, LGA, which is LaGuardia, or JFK, and you'll be fine. And then we also talked about subway stuff, and so we can get to that later, but I think it's pretty covered in that. And I guess the only thing, Angel, I'll recap with you is what I said to them is that I've lived here for 13 years, and I think the subways are fine. I think as long as you're not drunk at 4 o'clock in the morning, or whatever, you're going to be fine. You just need to study them before you get on them, and you get your Metro card, you know. And again, this is like if you're able-bodied and you can go up and down stairs, and even though there are some elevators in some of the subways, like generally speaking, it's fine. It's just sometimes it's annoying because you're going to get that um, the party, like people are like, hey, it's party time, and they do like jumping jacks in the train. That's kind of it.
Yeah, you want to stay alert, pay attention to the people around you, but other than that, I find it very safe, and you don't have to wait terribly long. And it's like you said, if you study the map, you know where you're going. You're getting in the right direction. You get the train going in the right direction. Um, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, and it's open 24 hours a day. It does slow down at night and depends on the line and blah blah blah. But for the most part, you can totally rely on the subway. And above all else, do not rent a car when you're in New York. Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not.
Um, oh, I just got to notice that it's me. I wrote in a question about 30 minutes ago, and it literally just came up on my post. That's interesting. Anyway, so one of the first things I want to talk about today is the actual 3 Madison Square Garden dates and the parties that Angel and is Leanie planning them with you?
Yep.
Yeah. So I want to sort of hand over the floor to Angel, and I'll let you take over and talk about it.
Well, we are doing pre-show and after-show parties for all 3 shows at a place called the Chelsea Bell, which is just a few blocks south along 8th Avenue from Madison Square Garden. So you go out the west side of Madison Square Garden and you just walk directly south. It's going to be on the opposite side of the street from Madison Square Garden.
Okay, pause there because I know that you can't see this very well because of, we'll be able to see it later. But I actually have my finger on Madison Square Garden. So here's 8th Street and here's 7th Street. So you're saying
Avenues, those are avenues.
Right. Like I said, avenues.
Mm-hmm.
So you go out to 8th Avenue and you go south.
South.
And is it just on 29th and 8th?
No, it's a little bit further down. Let me see.
I have it pulled up here, Chelsea Bell.
It's on 26. It's between 26th and 25th.
Okay. So there's the moniker for it. And
maybe it's on the same side of the street as the garden. Well, the other map that I saw made it look like it was on the other side, but it looks like it's on the same side as the garden.
And then can you where's your flyer? Because I want to pull it up and show people.
Let me see. I should be able to post it. Let me go to your page and to where we are.
I saw a flyer of it somewhere. Oh, hi. By the way, while Angel's looking at that, Joseph Green asks, "Do you have any advice for someone who wants a more highbrow New York experience?" While Andy the Cure fan, is very budget-minded. I want to do it up in high style. Already have front row tickets for 3 nights. Yeah, we can talk about that for sure. You can totally blow your wad in New York City. No.
Oh, that's not going to be a problem.
Anyway, so look, here's the Chelsea Bell. Just to it's very close. It's going to be fun.
There we go. It should be. There we go.
So where did you put it?
I think I commented on where we're talking.
On Facebook or on
Facebook.
On the Facebook. Okay, let me refresh that. Because it's Tech High Life. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. I don't see it yet, but that doesn't mean anything. All right, well, we'll go back to it. Anyway, continue telling about the hours, the location, and whatnot. Chelsea Bell.
Well, we start at 4 for the pre-show meetup, and that's going to be all ages because it's a pub, which means it serves food. So the idea is come, have dinner. We know that the Cure plays forever, right? So you got to get something in your stomach before the show. Mm-hmm. So we wanted a place where you could come and have dinner while you have your pre-show drinks and you're meeting with everybody. Chelsea Bell's a really big place, so there's plenty of room for everybody to come in and sit down, which I'm really glad about. But there's also a very long bar for people that just want to come in and stand and talk and stand at high top tables. So there's a little bit of something for everybody in that space, which I'm really happy about. But just in case, because I have not had a chance to walk through this space, I'm going to New York I'm actually in Maine now, but I'm going to New York in a couple of weeks for I'm calling it Skinny Puppy's retirement party. Right, they're having their 40th anniversary goodbye tour. So I'm going down for that in a couple of weeks. And when I'm there, I'm going to go to Chelsea Bell myself and take a walk through and make sure that it's just right for us. If it's not, I will make a new flyer and find a new spot. But from everything that I can tell, it looks like it's absolutely going to be perfect for us. And they've been very accommodating for the things that I know that we're going to need, because I've thrown lots of parties for us in the past, and I know the kind of things that we like. Um, and I wanted to do it all in one spot because uh, I found that in London at Wembley, a couple of our friends held similar kinds of parties before and after um, the shows there, and it was so great to have one specific spot where where all the fans were going, and it sort of became like the meetup hangout place where sort of the staff got to know us and we all got to know each other, and it felt like a neighborhood. And I really, really got to like that. So I'm hoping that we could get that feeling going in New York again. So it almost feels like a small town
Right.
where we're all buddies, you know.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing. I found a DJ. I sort of handpicked this DJ. I've known him for a long time, and I know him as being the biggest Cure fan DJ in the city. He will have everything you could possibly want with him. So if you want to request the most obscure song you could think of to play Trick the DJ, I will guarantee you he will have it.
Yeah, and she's
So we should.
talking. I'm interrupting because I'm just excited because she's talking about Frankie Teardrop. Where is he on here?
Yes.
And
Do you know him?
yeah, I do. He's awesome. He's awesome.
He's fantastic. Yeah, he's got a great history of DJing in New York, and he cannot wait to do these parties. He was so excited that I asked him, so it's going to be awesome.
That's great. I want to say hi to Allison, hi to Terry, hi to Joseph, and we're going to talk about living the high life in New York for a minute. Hi to Emmanuel and Allison again. And I'm just going to slide over to this thing that actually is two things in one. So yesterday, Andy and I talked about where can you go to see a view of New York without going to the stupid Empire State Building and the one rock. And I only say stupid because it's a traffic jam, right? So there's this place called the Westlight, and it is in Brooklyn, and it's very fancy, and it's beautiful. So if you want to do, I mean, it's in Brooklyn, but if you want to do it up, let's see, where's the hotel? It's sorry, I'm sort of failing. Okay, so here's some good views. You know, it's super fancy, and this is the fucking view of the city. I mean, come on. So Westlight is a great place to go, and it's above a hotel that I've completely forgotten about. But if you look up Westlight, you're gonna have a party time of wealth and grandeur. But Angel, I'm sort of stumped. What's a way to live it up in New York?
Well, in terms of getting up high and getting a nice view, I actually do have a suggestion that's a little off the beaten path. Um, and depending on how highbrow you mean, um, this might actually work out. Downtown, across the street from where the World Trade Center used to be, in Lower Manhattan, is I'm trying to think of the name of the hotel. I'm looking it up right now, but the restaurant that's part of that hotel is a Morton's Steakhouse.
Morton
Um,
Steakhouse.
yeah, which is a fancy, high-end. expensive steakhouse. Uh, for the average Joe, it is highbrow. For highbrow people, it is a chain restaurant. So it depends on where you're coming from. Uh, but in that hotel that it's in, they also have a bar that's kind of like the hotel bar, right? But I think anybody can go to it. But it's way like on the top of the hotel. And up there, it's really lovely. Like they have outdoor seating, a little bit, not a whole bunch, but it was not busy when I went. And you can drink outside, and they have very fancy, very nice cocktails, and you can get a very nice view up there. So
Yeah.
it's not touristy in the way that like people flock there just to take pictures. It's touristy just in the way that it's a hotel bar, so people are staying there.
Right. So I have my camera on the World Trade Center Memorial. So and I can go back to it once you look up. You find the name of the hotel. But I would also say, Joseph, what I would do is I would look up speakeasies. So, speakeasies in New York are really hip. This is this line of blood is my L train lifeline. Because yesterday I had said, this is what I said, Angel. I was like, to me, this area is super boring. I think everything that's cool and fun is down here, maybe up here. And I would say that, the wealthy class is up in the Upper East Side, Upper West Side, but I don't know about the restaurants and stuff up there. Like I actually went to a millionaire's club for a wedding, and it was completely terrifying to me, but I was a guest, and it was somewhere on the 60s. So anything that's between like 57th and 80th maybe, that's all rich people stuff. So that's another clue. But there's also there's a speakeasy down that's near Madison Square Garden that's by an ice cream shop, and I'll have to look it up. It's like by 9th and something. And so to me, that's one of the actual coolest things about going to New York, if you can afford to spend $20 on a cocktail, right? Because that's the thing, it's like in New York City, if you go, depending on what bar you go to, you might spend $20 on a cocktail. But if you're in this like kind of speakeasy where you have to like knock on the door and you have to know where to go, it can be really fun.
I think it's totally worth it. Like I love that crap.
Yeah, and
really
there's that one that Criff Dogs. Have you been to the one behind Criff Dogs? Okay, so this one's really interesting. Allison Humphreys, by the way, says, I can't believe I missed meeting you in London, Angel.
It's so weird. Yeah, she was at those parties, and somehow we missed each other. That was the one in the bright blue all the time. That's what I like. I'm always in head to toe blue when I'm at Cure stuff, so that people can find me. So, like I'm blue. I don't usually have white in the front when I do official Cure stuff. I actually fix my hair.
Oh, girl, we all need to go to the hairdresser. But I would say, like focus. God, there's so much like wealthy stuff. I'm trying to think. You could also live it up by going to some of the museums. I mean, there's the Met and the Guggenheim, and just do some research before you go about what parties or events are happening at those things. That's also a way to live it up in New York. But before I forget, so there's this place. This is very New York. There's a place, I think it's on St. Mark's Street, which is in the East Village, which I had said, I have to move my sign. I had said that this is where like punk rock was started, but New York is kind of sold out now because of the way that life is. But anyway, so there's this place called Criff Dogs. It's a hot dog place. But you go down the stairs at like obviously after 9:00, right? And you like go into a phone booth, and then you get invited up into this like speakeasy, and like maybe Jay-Z will be there or something. There's also a speakeasy above this place called Angel. What was that underground club in the Lower East Side where it was the Wednesday night goth party that was going on for years and years and years? Oh my God, help me.
Not Pyramid.
No, not Pyramid. It's Lower East Side. It's this tiny little like dungeon of a place. I'm gonna have to look that up too. But then there's another speakeasy above it. So you just kind of. But I think by now, if you look up Joseph, if you look up speakeasy, that'll be great. And then also Joseph, if you put in what exactly you're having in mind, like if you want to like brush elbows with celebs. Or if you want to go to, bars with those, they have, what are those called when they have drinks where you have bubbly and it's like $5 million? What is that called? Do you know what I'm talking about, Angel?
I don't know. I think that's out of my
Yeah.
price range.
So if you go into the fashion district, which is above, it's the meatpacking district. The meatpacking district also has a lot of, meatpacking district, Hell's Kitchen has a lot of fancy pants, bottle service. That's it. Places that offer bottle
That's
service.
it. Yeah. Okay.
So those
Yeah.
are those are
That's
very
funny.
fancy.
That's where I had my first club night was in Meatpacking District because it was like really um, not fancy when I used to have my parties there in the 90s. And yes, now it is very fancy. And I could never afford to have a party there ever again.
Right. So let's see. Joseph says, thinking of taking a Circle Line tour around Manhattan. Yeah, so I don't even know what that is. Here's the other problem with talking to two New Yorkers is that we don't do a lot of touristy things, right? I mean, Angel, I said yesterday that the things that I would recommend are looking at the Statue of Liberty but not paying for it because it's too exhausting. Going to Central Park, going to the One World Trade Center. But what are some other like? And I said don't go to Times Square. Are there any basics that you would say are worth it?
Um, well, I was thinking one thing before I forget that I would say to this particular person is the restaurants that you're going to want to go to are probably already reserved. And if they're not, you want to reserve them now. So do your research now and put in your reservations because the fancy places, like the really nice, the chefs that everybody knows about, those best restaurants are reserved like way out. So it would be a good idea to start thinking now about where you'd like to eat and get that done. Um, but in terms of other touristy things, I'm not really good at that either. I've never been to Empire State Building. I've never been to the Statue of Liberty. Um, yeah, I'm more of like a walk, like I would say walk around 8th Street if that's still even, like I think that's still good. I think there's still some good shops on 8th Street.
You
Um,
mean 8th Street South by like Greenwich Village, like south of
yeah,
14th?
on the east side was where they used to have lots of great shops. Um,
Oh, you're talking about the
Halloween
East.
event.
Yeah. You're talking about in the East Village.
Yeah. I mean, that whole like East Village and into Greenwich Village area is still kind of a fun place to walk around.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that's interesting about like this area is not poor. I mean, there's just nothing. I don't know where poor people live in New York anymore, but like what Angel's saying is what I said yesterday is like really the beauty about New York is being able to walk around, and so maybe it's a question of like you find a restaurant that you want to go to, and then you walk around. Like for example, there's a great restaurant off of I think 6 over here. It's an Italian restaurant. You can't get a reservation for it. I'm going to have to look that up too. But every time I go there, I see a fucking celebrity. Why? Because people in New York, they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be looked at. They don't want anybody to care about them. So they want to go to the nonchalant places. So going back to St. Mark's, where's St. Mark's? Here it is. So back in the day, St. Mark's used to be where all the punk rock stuff was. This is the East Village. Now it's And then A, B, C, D used to be very dangerous, but it's not anymore. But Angel, would you say the Pyramid Club is on Avenue A, right? That's a goth club.
It was. It's gone now.
I think it came back.
Did it reopen?
Oh, Joseph, we're going to talk about records in a minute. Well, I think it reopened, and if not, Angel, are there any other goth parties that you would recommend? Because that's something that people have asked me.
There are, but unfortunately, most of them don't happen that week. It's unfortunately the goth scene in New York has had to go has had to move into monthly parties rather than weekly parties because throwing parties in New York is so expensive now. Um, so
Well, you're
so
talking
you
about
can't.
there's one called the Red Party. So Sean Templar does one. Are you talking about that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, and that's basically all there is for goth. You know, parties like that is all that's left. There's one month. I mean, there's one weekly that I found that I have not gone to. Um, it's in Brooklyn. That's another thing is that a lot of the clubs have moved to Brooklyn. Um, there's only like one thing left in Manhattan.
So
Yes,
these are my three for goth people, punk rock people. Um, these are my three bar recommendations. Now, what Angel's talking about is specific nights and
parties.
parties. And what I'm saying is that what you might want to do is look up TVI, St. Vitus, or Talon Bar on any night of the week. The problem, which I don't think is a problem, is that they're all in Brooklyn. So why is that a problem? It's not to me it's not if you stay close to the L line because the L will take you there in 30 minutes and it's just super easy. You know, you get your Metro card. Anybody who's staying in New York for more than like if you're staying in New York for 4 days and you really want to do it up, buy a weekly Metro card. Just pay the $40. Then you're going all over the place. You're not thinking about it. Ding da da ding da da dung ba ba. So with that, then even though the cure ends at like what o'clock? I don't even remember.
Or it should be, yeah, it should be around midnight.
I think they're going to end. Well, I don't know. Maybe so. Either you go, even if you go, like let's say you go down, so then go to Angel's party there, and you're like, oh my God, I want to go so hard, I want to go so crazy. Then you're going to take a subway down to the L train, go over here, and you're going to go to either Greenpoint, and you're going to go to St. Vitus, because there's always a late night dance party at St. Vitus, or you're going to go over to Williamsburg, and you're going to go to DeKalb, and you're going to go to Talon Bar, because it's just really pretty. This is, again, on the L. Or you're going to go all the way to the Halsey stop, and you're going to go to TVI. I mean, those three places are the places that I know.
And some of those places might be open during the day. Also, if you're a day drinker, I kind of like to drink during the day myself. Um, like I looked up, Lucky 13 is one of the bars that I really like.
Where's that?
And it's run by it's owned and operated by an old school goth that I can speak for. Um, it is in a different part of Brooklyn that's down south of Manhattan. Um,
In
you can
Dumbo?
find it at lucky13saloon.com.
Do you know if it's Park
And they
Slope
open
or
at 2. What was that?
Angel? Do you know if it's Park Slope or
It is. It's kind of in Park Slope. Like I think we used to call it South Slope.
okay? So it's down. Yeah, it's down by the. Ooh, ooh!
It's over by Gowanus, actually. It's near the Gowanus.
I just thought of something. I just got it. Look, Greenwood Cemetery, Goth Heaven, Greenwood
Oh
Cemetery.
yeah.
That's a goth place to go to for shizzle.
Yes. So if you go down there to get some pictures with the cool in the cool cemetery, then I would say definitely stop in at Lucky 13. Uh, the the decor in there is like super awesome. Um, the drinks are good. If you're a vegan, everything there is vegan, like vegan White Russians, down like everything. Um, she's a very strict vegan, but
Ah.
also makes great drinks.
Yeah, so on that same note, so that's the thing is that there's people look, I'm going to be a Brooklyn snob. All the cool shit's in Brooklyn now. I mean, the East Village still has good stuff. Like there's places like there's a new bar in the village, in the East Village called 96 Tiers. 96 Tiers, and it's run by Jonathan Tubin. Club Weird, Angel, that's what I was thinking of. Weird. It was on Wednesday
Ah,
nights.
that's right. Yep.
So where Weird was, that was there's a club above that. But now in the East Village, there's 96 Tiers. It just opened up, super rock and roll, super cool. But then and then where I live over in Ridgewood, which is all the way over, like I said, you take the L train over. There's a place called Flying Fox Tavern. Flying Fox Tavern. And there's a guy, I don't know if you know him, his name's Phantom Creep. He does these like great lectures there. It's a horror themed bar.
Oh, cool.
And there's a place called Aunt Ginny's, which has a food place in the back called it's called I Like Food, and it's based off of a Descendants song.
Ah,
I
that's
like
cool.
food, food good. I like food. Yeah. So, I mean, basically what we're saying here, I think, is if you're like exhausted and you're like, oh my God, I don't have any energy, go to the Cure, go to Angel's parties, and I think everyone should go to Angel's parties, but like, and then call it a day and go to sleep. But if you're on the party train and you're pounding that white stuff and you're just gonna, or you're sober and you want to go have a mocktail. Either way.
Then there are plenty of options for you. Have you been to this place called Strangelove on 53rd Street?
No.
What the F, right? It's on 53rd between 2nd and 3rd Avenue, which is like yuppie central, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm kind of scared of it, right? It's a quote graffiti covered punk bar. And I looked at pictures of it and it looks grosser than Double Down. There's this place called Double Down Saloon on First Avenue, which is actually like where I like to go. I love me a dive bar. Like I like really broken down, shitty looking bars. It's just my thing. Um, and Double Down is the sister bar to the like dumpiest bar in Las Vegas, which I really like.
Right.
So
Where did you say it's
Double Down,
First Avenue in the East Village?
yeah, it's First and A. So it's right at the bottom of the like right above Houston Street, actually.
Right. It's in here.
So it's a great location. It's a good size, very like very punk and goth friendly. The jukebox is full of punk and goth music. There's a pool table. Um, in terms of staying in Manhattan and a quick, easy subway ride, I would say Double Down is probably the easiest place to go.
And there's also
Super
there's
fun.
Auto's Shrunken Head is around here somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's up on 14th. So it's a long walk, but you can take the walk from some of the north-south lines. Otherwise, you can jump on the L. That's on 14th, way over on between First and A, I think.
Yeah, and then there's Beauty Bar, and then there's like the B. There's some sort of thing called B Bar. There's a ton of bars in the East Village. So this
On
again,
14th in that strip, yeah.
yeah, and then so then the West Village is a little bit more pricey. It's very queer friendly. I think that Angel and I are on the same page. Like we don't go here. We don't go here. In the Midtown.
Like in Midtown, yeah.
Midtown is a nightmare on Elm Street. To me.
But I mean, I'm hoping that with more of us around just for those few days, it will be less scary.
And we're not
You
saying
know,
scary as in like dangerous. We're saying scary is just like tacky and gross. And
yeah,
so another
it's
thing I
like
want to, oh, go ahead.
devoid of culture, basically.
Exactly.
So anyway, this Strangelove place, just I would say it's worth looking at. It's just like pre-painted or wallpapered graffiti kind of is odd to me, you know. It certainly was not natural. It did not naturally occur in there. Um, but maybe
Graffiti
there's
didn't.
some authenticity there. I don't know.
Ooh. Here's a good question. Here's a good question for you, Angel. So, I actually never got to go to CBGB's in my life.
Hmm.
I didn't know that it's actually now it's a men's clothing store, but you can actually walk in and see the old walls. Do you remember
That
where it is?
was genuine graffiti.
Do you remember
That was
where that?
naturally occurring.
Right. Do you remember where that is?
Oh God, that was on the Bowery. Yeah. That was on the Bowery, and the cross street is named after Joey Ramone, so it wouldn't be hard to find it. Um, would have been around, God, Third or Fourth Street.
It is. It is. You're exactly right. I think it's on. It's a men's clothing store. I'll find it later and I'll put it in the chat. So somebody said record shopping in the village. Yeah, definitely. I have a list of record stores I'm going to talk about in a minute. And then somebody said Jon Varvatos. Oh, thank you, Joseph. Yeah. So the men's
That's the
clothing
one. Yep.
store is called Jon Varvatos. And if you are interested in like punk lore, you walk into this men's clothing store and they still have the walls, some of the walls that were of CBGB's. It's cool.
In terms of record stores, I actually found out I didn't know Rough Trade moved into Manhattan. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Rough Trade is like this really famous record store that it's big and it's got all the cool stuff. And they actually opened a venue and started booking really cool bands and stuff, acts. But they moved into Rockefeller Center, 30 Rockefeller Plaza on 6th Avenue, between 49th and 50th Street, which is right by where the Dave Letterman Theater. I can't remember who films in there now. Is it
Everybody, I don't know.
one
I
of the
mean,
late night shows still does their thing in there? But yeah, it's a very odd place for a very cool record store, and it's totally within walking distance of Madison Square Garden, and a cool place to visit. It's a very touristy place to visit, but someplace, something you might want to see.
I mean, I don't know. It's a few blocks. It depends on how mobile you are. So Madison Square is on 34th. Rockefeller Center is on 49th. So I guess it's 12 blocks. Yeah, and so this is where radio... Actually, here's another thing that's cool. You know what you could do is if you're getting cure nerded out, you could go to some places. You could take a photo of yourself in front of Radio City Music Hall, which is right by
Hmm.
Rockefeller Center, right by what she's talking about, record rough trade. It's also... Do not pay money to go up into the rock, into up top of the rock. Please do not, because you will waste all your energy. But you can walk around and see the buildings. And also, speaking of wealthy crap, Fifth Avenue is the shops there are banana cakes, like they're super wealthy. So if you want to get like a taste of like old New York, of like, I wouldn't go to Macy's, but maybe Saks Fifth Avenue. Like
Tiffany's.
Tiffany's. Like when I go into Saks Fifth Avenue, I feel like somebody's gonna arrest me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Radio City
And
is
also, if
pretty.
you're into like architecture and stuff, the St. Patrick's Cathedral is over there too, and it's really beautiful.
Right. That's true. That's very true. So what are we going to do, team? If we're staying around Madison Square Garden, we're not going to spend time in Times Square. You know why? Because all you're going to get is tourists and people who are going to try to rip you off. So
Yeah, that's a tough part.
so, and here's another thing is if you can go from Madison Square, if you want to walk, Bryant Park, which is on 42nd and 6th, is kind of a cool New York place.
Yeah, it is really nice. There's a place that you can have outdoor lunch there too, which I really enjoy. Outdoor lunch or dinner, um, and it's the food is good and they have very nice drinks and it's chill.
It is chill and it is very New York. It's very nice. I mean, like I said yesterday, Central Park is of course great, but it's overwhelming. So really that you can get a lot of local flair at Bryant Park, or like I had said yesterday to go down to Washington Square, but we're talking about Midtown. The other thing for foodies, even though I don't like Midtown, Koreatown, which is I think is like in this area. You might want to look into getting some authentic Korean food in here. Otherwise,
And if you are a nerd,
oh,
um, on the back of Bryant Park is the New York Public Library, which is huge and kind of a mecca for the world's nerds, and it has a crazy rare book collection. And if you look at the website ahead of time, you could probably find something specific that you would love to have a look at in your nerditude.
it's also just so beautiful.
It is
The
beautiful.
the New York Public Library is so fucking beautiful. And you know what you just reminded me of? There's a hotel. God, now I'm like challenging myself with doing my research. There's a hotel in Midtown that's very fancy. And you walk in and you go around the corner and there's a fucking burger place inside. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, I have to look this up too because this is a true New York experience. Like you walk into this hotel and you have absolutely no idea that there's this like mom and pop burger joint. And the story is that the mom and pop burger joint, which takes cash only, existed before the hotel came. So the hotel came and they're like, "We want you out." And mom and pop said, "Mm-mm." So they built the
Too bad for
hotel
you.
around them.
Good for them.
All right, let's stick to records because I know that there's specific people. This is my list. Okay, I'm going to get close. Let's see. So in Manhattan, you have Rough Trade, Academy Records, Village Revival. Oh, Generation Records is actually somewhere else, and Turntable Labs might be. Oh, I think that's in Manhattan, but Bleecker Bob's I think is closed, which used to be the
Oh
legendary.
no.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think because of a million reasons, like that's it when it comes to Manhattan. And of course, there's more, and somebody can please tell me if there's I'm missing something. But Bleecker Bob's was on Bleecker Street. But really, it's where it's at is in Brooklyn. So Human Head, Brooklyn Record Exchange. There's two annexes. This place, Vinyl Fantasy, is kind of overpriced, but it might still be worth it depending on. You need to really map this shit out because it's going to take a while to get everywhere. Material World is so death metal, punk, and angular that they won't even sell Cure records. It's so goth and punk that like the Cure aren't even, but for record nerds, like they definitely have some mathy stuff. Like they're gonna have like 10 reissues of the Noi, whatever, and I don't know, some shit that I don't care about, but other people do, and a lot of like death metal and metal music. And then let's see. Academy Records Annex is amazing, and Record Grouch. So that's my list of
Have you ever been to Octopus Records?
I have not.
Supposedly they specialize in electronic music, all forms of electronic music. Sounded to me like something our people would be into. 204 Irving Avenue in Brooklyn.
Right. Somebody says, oh, Allison says, I'm hoping to go to Moma. Moma is beautiful. The thing with museums in New York is that there's so many. And again, I think it really, depending on who you are and what you're interested in. I mean, that's the thing about New York is it's like 20 countries in one.
I
There's
think you can buy tickets in advance. You want to look and see what exhibits are there and which ones, certain things sell out. So you want to see what exhibits are there, which ones you're interested in, and sort of do your surgical strikes, I think.
totally. And you want to plan your days based on like where you're going to go and how much you got to allot yourself with energy. Just like, I know that there's probably a lot of people who are coming from different countries may have been to London or Paris more than they've been to New York, but I feel like those two cities are the most like New York in the sense that like you can have 20 different experiences in Paris, right? You can like, I Paris hates me. Like I always have a shitty time there, but it's a beautiful city. I just always smell urine and get like pickpocketed and but it's a beautiful city. Like I'm not saying it's not a beautiful city, but it's like if I knew somebody who lived there, maybe I'd have a better experience. You know?
One thing that we didn't mention about, like when we were talking about bars and clubs, is that New York City and all of the United States is 21 plus for drinking, and they card you everywhere. Never leave your hotel without your ID. In fact, like for international people, I would travel with your passport on you all the time. That's super important. It doesn't matter if you have white hair and carrying a cane; they will not let you in without ID.
I know that is weird, and it's just it's just laws. And remember that
It's the law.
that bars in New York are open till 4 a.m.
Yes, most of them. Although in the area around Madison Square Garden, there's a neighborhood ordinance that makes a lot of them close at 2
Oh, really?
until Thursday, which is why my parties go until 2, except for Thursday, which goes until 4.
Right. Right.
Also, for restaurants, and this is also really, really super important. Most of you probably know this, but just in case, in the United States, and this is true in bars to a certain extent too, but in the United States, tipping is not a custom, it's a requirement. Pretty much it's the only way that your server gets paid. And it's really stupid, but in the restaurants are not required to pay their staff like the minimum wage, a minimum livable wage. They get like, do you know what it is now? It's like less than $5 an hour.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, it's always been like that. Literally, the only way they get paid is through their tips. So when you're looking and deciding where to go out to eat and deciding, sort of what your budget is, you need to budget for 20% minimum above what the menu prices are. Because if you don't have the extra for the tip, you're really kind of stealing the server's time. So keep that in mind. It's really, really, really important. It stinks.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad that you said that, Angel. Because somebody asked me about that too, and I completely forgot. With that said, I just wanted to put this. There's this place called Eater. It's a place. It's a it's an online magazine called Eater that I think is very good to do your research on where to eat, because some people are like, where do I eat? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know, because there's so many different places.
There's so many. I think that the best thing to do really is walk around, look at the menus. That's the great thing about New York, is that almost everybody posts their menu outside the door. Just explore and see what strikes your fancy and go for it.
Yeah, and I do really well. I do really well with, because I am a food snob, and I don't like a lot of stuff, and I want atmosphere, and I want this, and I want that. But I do find that Eater is a good internet resource. There's another one called The Infatuation. New York Times, anything you look up on New York Times, like eating, blah, blah, blah. But it's also neighborhood. And the thing that's tricky about New York is you have to remember that, like, there's so much that there's also really shitty food. Like, disgusting food. I do not recommend eating off of, the pretzel vendors.
The carts. I mean, it's a New York experience. Do it on the last day.
And I've done it, but I mean, lately they've been like cold and hard and like, oh.
Mm.
And there's been articles about people like not washing their hands and, what does this say? Thank you, ladies, for sharing many details about New York and the U.S., especially with respect to tipping. Yeah. No, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Because it's weird. It's like, why do I need to tip? Well, it's because, like Angel said, they're making $4 an hour.
Yep. It's really annoying. I mean, there's starting to be a conversation in some states about maybe that being wrong, but it's going to be a very long time before anybody does anything about that.
Oh, okay. And then somebody says, appreciate your comments of the areas that are queer safe. So I want to talk about that, because New York, again, is so, I mean, I'm so proud of our city being so all-inclusive friendly. But of course, there's assholes everywhere, right? But I mean, if you gotta be whatever you are, like in this place, it is celebrated. So let's go back to that for a second. So the West Village is really I can't.
And that's where Stonewall happened, right?
Yeah. So if you go to the West Village, you're gonna, first of all, it's just so fucking beautiful, and you can walk, you can go by the water, but just the restaurants are really nice, and you're gonna see a lot of rainbow flags. And Stonewall, I don't remember where it is, but there's even like there's a place that's the gay and lesbian, I'm so terrible with words right now, but there's a place that I used to go to get my health insurance, and I'm not gay, but it doesn't matter. It's just a place where everyone can go to feel safe and protected, and I wanted to go talk about my health insurance. But that's the West Village is very queer friendly. And then also actually up into Chelsea, like around, I want to say 23rd. So maybe like extending in this area. Like there's actually this ice cream shop called Big Gay Ice Cream, which is hilarious. And you'll get some of that here. East Village is just always been anything goes. Problem with Lower East Side right now is that the Bridge and Tunnel people have come over, and on Friday, Saturday nights they just have a big vomit party there. I don't really know about this area, but again, if you go to the L train, you take the L train, there's a lot of really great parties over here in Bushwick. in Williamsburg. And I'm gonna have to get like there's a place where I live called Trans Pecos, as in Trans Pecos. It's a tiny little bar, and it's great. They always have these summer parties, so I know that there's going to be something going on there. There's shows, there's parties. Like where TVI is more of just like straight up rock and roll, anything goes. Trans Pecos is very, 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 very queer friendly. And in fact, there's parties that are so wanting to make people feel safe that they are, you know, they're not excluding people who are straight, but they're like, hey, let's make sure we give room on the dance floor to non-binary folks, and let's celebrate that. There's a DJ group, a trio called the Sissies of Mercy, which is amazing. So they're queer, right? And they're called the Sissies of Mercy. So you can look that up.
The only thing I would say is that I feel like you could go pretty much anywhere in Manhattan and feel safe as a queer person. I don't feel like I don't think that there are any specific neighborhoods where there's a major risk in Manhattan. But I think that that there are places in Brooklyn where you need to be more careful. So it's good to know where you're going as a queer person when you're going to Brooklyn. Unfortunately, because I haven't lived there for long, for a while, I can't tell you specifically. But Brooklyn is a huge borough. It's just a really big borough, and there's a lot of old school neighborhoods where I don't know how safe things are. They're just neighborhoods that have never been particularly safe anyway.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm choking, but there's this woman, Andy 80s, who Angel got to DJ one of our last parties. Like any party that she does is going to be,
she's great.
Is going to be very goth. She does a club called Syntheside at the Bossa Nova Club.
Well, she's very sort of electro. She's very post-punk. It's not just goth, it's 80s new wave. She's very new wavy. So she's really fun. You get a variety of music with her. I think as a Cure fan, you'd probably like the range of what she plays.
Right. And then there's this place it's in Brooklyn that it's run by a friend of mine that I used to do yoga. It's called Glitch. Queer Chaos, monthly show produced and hosted by Juno Stardust, Pink Metal. Oh, it's at Pink Metal Brooklyn. So Pink Metal, I think, is the actual bar, which is Bushwick Avenue. So I think another smart way for people to find, like, God, where do I want to go in this like city of crazy, is maybe start I find Instagram to be really helpful, because what I'll do is I'll follow, like if I follow Andy 80s and I see where she's performing or DJing, like she's doing something at St. Vitus, she's doing something at Bossa Nova Club, or she's doing something at Trans Pecos, or she's doing something at TVI, and then I'll notice who else is doing whatever. So like if you follow this Pink Metal bar, right, and you see what nights they have, then maybe somebody's on there that you're like, oh, what are they doing? And you can connect the dots that way.
I just thought of what is that bar that's above a movie theater, like one of the big multiplexes, but it's one of those nice ones where you can eat at, but there's a bar above it that has like all the like the dead stuff in it, the specimens of.
Well, Morbid Anatomy Museum closed.
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's
Is it in Brooklyn or
what
Manhattan?
is that chain of theaters? Alamo. It's one of the Alamo theaters.
Alamo
But above
Drafthouse?
it, oh yeah, yeah. And it's I think it's the one that's in that like main that's maybe in the complex that has Target and everything in that main downtown Brooklyn area. But like if you go above the theaters, there's a really cool bar that's like filled with all these weird like uh, medical instruments, and I mean it's super creepy.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it. It's near Atlantic Avenue. It's near Target. So that's where Andy is staying over. It's sort of near Barclays Center.
because I had talked to her about trying to do a party in there or something because it is so goth. It is really creepy, and you'd never know it was there.
So I think we're gonna have to
What the heck was
list.
it?
Yeah, we're gonna have to list some of these things. Is anybody else still on Bueller? Bueller? Does anyone have any questions? I'm trying to think of what else. For anyone who's not tuned in yesterday, people still wear masks here. It's not mandatory. Don't get upset either way. But we had it hit real hard. We got hit really hard with COVID, and so there's a lot of people that are not recovered from it. What else?
It's
What
House of
else?
Wax.
Right, House of Wax. And what's the address?
Says 445 Albee Square. But I don't know if that's really going to be helpful.
By the way, Angel and I did not plan this, but I'm wearing this.
We both showed up in the same shirt.
Um, oh, I did want to mention this is another like free thing, which is actually very New York. Oh, this is kind of funny, actually. I feel like we're failing because we're both like, know so many places and can't get the names. But okay, so if you walk along the High Line is a new thing, and basically it's like an above ground walkway that takes you on the west side of here. Let me turn this. Nerds, super nerds. We are super nerds. We are. So let's see if this map is old, so it's not going to have. So in oh no, it does have it. Look at here's the High Line. Oh, how cool! So this High Line is you can access it probably near Madison Square Garden. And what it was an old railway, and they just made it into a walking area. And by the Whitney Museum, the Whitney Museum is another fancy museum. If you're on the High Line and you're staring at the Whitney Museum, or it might be even when you're in the Whitney, there's a hotel over here that's famous. Did anyone see the movie Shame? Anyone out there?
I did not.
Okay, so Shame, I have to turn around for this. But anyway, so remember the High Line. This is a great thing to do for free because you can just see stuff. And the Whitney Museum is a great museum. But so Shame is this movie. It's a low budget film. I hope I don't offend anybody. But it's about a man who is a sex addict. And he's going around New York and he's just having sex with all these people. And it's actually a really well done. It's one of those Fassbender guys. And there's a scene in the movie where you're like far away and you see a hotel building with, this is X-rated, so if any kids are watching, stop watching right now. You see the hotel has these clear windows. And he's totally banging this chick up against the window. It's crazy. And what's interesting about that in New York lore is that's actually based on the fact that like people who stayed at that hotel in South Chelsea by the Whitney used to do that. So it's kind of funny. And there's probably also, oh God, there's so many things like movie points too. I don't know, man. There's so much in New York. What else? Hey,
Oh, we didn't even mention that Tim Burton restaurant. There's a Tim Burton themed restaurant in New York, but I've heard that it's not very good.
Yeah, where is that?
It's in it might be in it's just north of the Lower East Side,
You
I
know why we're
think,
doing
or
we're
maybe it's
so
on the
slow,
Lower
you
East Side.
guys? We're slow because we
What?
want you guys to look online while we're fumbling. That's why.
Yeah, like I've never heard any of my friends even mention checking it out. So that, like, as soon as it came out, the reviews were not good.
You think you booked the wrong hotel? Oh, I know, Eric. You want to go to the banger? You want to talk about
Or you just want to stay somewhere that has a good view of that hotel. You don't really want to stay in it
yeah, the
because then you
banger.
miss the show.
They really like they got in trouble. Like that was like a definite New York thing. The other cool New York thing to think about is jazz. Um, Jazz is, I mean, it's all over the city, but there's the jazz at Lincoln Center. There's jazz clubs that are around. Actually, that's another thing. Let me. Uh, the Banger Hotel. Isn't that funny? Such a New York thing. So over back by Washington Square Park, like down here on Sixth and kind of in here somewhere. Um, the Blue Note is somewhere in here, south of Washington Square Park. Which, if anyone is into jazz, that's like the most famous jazz club ever.
It's kind of the mecca of jazz, but I would say to go to one of the bars nearby to hear like the good stuff, because like I find that the jazz that the Blue Note actually has, it like is a little bit. I call it dinner jazz. Like it's really, really lovely, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you like, I like my jazz really dirty,
Right.
and they never. I've never really seen anything dirty there.
But do you
But
remember
there's nice dirty jazz in the neighborhood.
right? I'm in the right, like Sullivan and Thompson and in there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then just really briefly, if you want to go shopping, I mean, there's 5 million places to go shopping, but Broadway South by Soho, this is like a big shopping area, and then you're hitting Little Italy, which to me it's not that interesting. Chinatown, I'm not a Chinatown expert, but again, if you want to get banger Chinese food, that's where you should go. And then I also told people yesterday that the views in this area, like to walk the Brooklyn Bridge if you're able-bodied, but if you can do some like there's fancy South Street Seaport. There's fancy places to eat, and you can sit at a pier and have the most beautiful view of the city at night. Like this area is nuts.
One restaurant I have to mention because it is Goth owned and operated is a French restaurant called Chez Napoleon. And it's, again, not too far from Madison Square Garden. I think you walk just due north. Um, Chez Napoleon. It is between 50th and 50th Street
Wait, what?
on
Between
Ninth
what?
Avenue.
Where is
So,
it?
yeah, it's not far at all.
Angel, say that again.
Let me see. The address is, oh, okay, the address is 365 West 50th Street between 8th and Ninth. So basically you just walk north on 8th Avenue and then hang a left on 50th Street.
And what's the place
It's
called?
called Chez Napoleon. It's French, and they had a terrible, terrible time through the pandemic and could really, really use our support. So if you like French food, check out Chez Napoleon. It's very well, it's been there for a very long time. It's his family restaurant. It's a family business. And it's run by a guy named Sir William Wells, who runs a website called New Goth City. And he's been running it for like at least 15 years. And it's a great website to check out when it gets closer to showtime, because it will give you a good listing of what shows are coming up, what dance parties are going to be going on that week. And also has a good listing of cool shops and cool bars and things like that. So it's a great resource for everybody coming to the area. So I should have mentioned that earlier. Newgothcity.com.
And then just as I'm scanning the island, Tudor City. If you're a music. If you're a film nerd, if you go up here, it's a really weird section of the city. A lot of stuff has been filmed over there. I feel like there's other stuff. What was I gonna say? So way up here, so the Museum of Natural History is amazing. Beacon Theater is where the Cure played the Reflections. And it's
Reflections.
also a beautiful, beautiful place. But all this shit, like again, MetLife building, this building, the other building. Don't waste your money on that because you're going to need to waste your money on tipping and going to. I was about to say sex party.
Well, there are those too. But you'll have to find them online.
But there's, also for the sober people, like I don't drink anymore. I mean, I barely drink, but because New York is so open, like there's plenty of places that have mocktails. You can have a soda. Nobody cares because everyone's
No.
too busy trying to
In
survive.
fact, I'll talk to the bar I'll talk to the Chelsea Bell and make sure that we have a couple.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. I know I'm seeing it more and more.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so tell me, Angel, what do you feel about Madison Square Garden?
I don't know. It's a venue like any other venue to me. Uh, I'm- I am. It's funny. I actually prefer to see the Cure in arenas. I think that their music needs to roll in a big space. So I like to hear it that way. Um, I spend most of their concerts with my eyes closed, so I don't really care if I'm close or if I'm not. Um, so I guess I'm sort of the wrong person to talk to in terms of the traditional concert experience. But I mean, the sight lines are good. It's just a lot of the tickets are further away than people are used to because it is a very big venue. Um,
I
they
don't think
will
I don't
pat
think
you
you're the
down. It's very security forward. It is what it is.
Oh no, I don't think you're the wrong person to talk to at all. I think it's good to have differing opinions because people I don't like Madison Square Garden and people are like, "Why?" But it's so legendary. And the thing I don't understand is I literally don't understand why it's so legendary.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess because it is larger than most. Um, it's in a huge market. It's, I don't know, maybe older than most. I don't know why.
It's in a huge market. What do you mean?
I mean, it's in New York City. Things that are in New York get,
Oh, you mean it's just in New York City, so it's
yeah.
I was like, is there a market that I'm missing?
No, no, I think it's just, things that people notice things in New York. Um, but I don't know how much bigger it is compared to most places these days, but I'm sure for a while it was gargantuan compared to every other place.
Yeah, and so I'm saying hello to Isabel Renit. Hello from Paris. Terry says, "Save your money for party favors." I know, right? Yeah. So again, to reiterate, don't rent a car. Don't be afraid of the subway. Get your Metro card. Bring your ID. Maybe have a mask in your pocket, just in case you go someplace that they're weird about it still. And I don't mean weird and judgmental. I wear my mask sometimes. This fanny pack was from Forget About Stars, Cure Threads. I definitely would get your gear ready for going into venues and carrying in as little as possible, but having what you need. And the other thing I wanted to say before I forget, it's going to be summer. It's going to be hot, probably, and smelly. So you might go down into a subway and it may smell real bad. And you might run into somebody who's like, whoo, you know, there's a lot of different characters in New York City, and that's why we love it. And you're going to see piles of garbage, and you're going to be like, what is going on? And you're going to see rats. That's just the way New York is. But it is absolutely a beautiful city, and as we've been talking about, there's so much to see and do, that there's so many different experiences that you can have, that you really want to prioritize like what kind of experience you want. But I would say I was going to use an example, but when you bring your shoes, like just bring one, just don't get crazy with your shoes, but bring something that you can wear in your hotel. So you take off your shoes. Don't walk around your hotel in the shoes that you've been walking around in New York City. I got to be honest with you. Because there's poopy.
Wear something comfortable to walk around the city in. I always warn my friends when they're coming out to like the clubs and stuff to dance for the first time. I warn against open toe shoes because people wear big shoes in New York and you could get hurt. But that's just for your own safety. But you wear whatever you want. But definitely good walking shoes is what you need the most.
Yeah, totally. Terry has an interesting question. Is scooter rental a thing like it is in Houston? I'm not sure about scooter rentals. I would imagine that you could, but you bring up a very fun point, which is City Bike. So City Bike is a program. You can download it on your app. You might need to pay like a $3 annual fee or something. But it's basically that thing where you pick up your bike over by Madison Square Garden and you map out where you can park your bike. So let's say like some bikers they bike across the Brooklyn Bridge or the Williamsburg Bridge to get over to that, or you just want to go up the street, you can rent a City Bike. But I also think that you can rent scooters. Now that said, New York is...
I think it would be terrifying.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean,
you have to have cojones to bike in New York City.
Well, I mean, tons and tons of people bike in New York City. I mean, it's, so I really think it depends on what kind of person you are. I mean, because the thing, Angel, that I don't want people to... there's this sort of campaign right now in the media that like New York is under purge and like people are just getting slaughtered and oh my God, like so much chaos, and it's
not. Certainly not like that. But I mean, I think that the idea of just jumping on a bike and going, it'd be faster to take a bike than the subway, or it would be, you can take in the sights by taking a bike, it's not how it works in New York in the way that it might in a different city. I think that it takes a certain kind of personality. I think for locals to take a bike, it's different than for tourists, I would think. It's not.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of friends who bike and they're fine, but I mean, it's just a busy city. It's just busy. That's all. So you just got to know that you're not in, everything is totally compact here. And part of the reason why you don't want to rent a car is because there's no place to park. The only place that you're going to find a place to park is going to be $20 an hour. So if you rent a City Bike, which they're all over the place now, and there's bike lanes now, and there's even, Angel, I don't know if you're aware of this, but over on 14th Street, it's completely sectioned off to cars in certain areas.
That's right. Those sections off areas are excellent.
Right.
Those help a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, really like the bike thing right now is big, and Carl Tapia, who is my roommate until he shoves off to England. He's in England right now. Hi, Carl.
Hey,
But
Carl.
he will eventually be moving, and I'll have to find another roommate. But he has a scooter, but he owns the scooter, so that's something that you might want to look into, Terry, because I don't know. I just know about City Bike. I went through New York City once with a police escort, and it was still dynamic. It makes LA traffic seem tame. Yeah, yeah, that's why. So here's a great example. This is a Cure story. You ready for this one? So, Angel, you were at Irving Plaza, right? 1997?
Yes, I have to move my phone very
Okay.
because I'm gonna lose power. There we go.
Okay. So Irving Plaza is over somewhere around here, right? Let's
Yes, I
see.
was at that show. I think it was 96 Halloween.
97. And The Cure had done something at Tower Records, which I think was like up here. I don't remember where Tower Records was.
No, oh, that was south of Irving Plaza. Yeah, it was just off of Astor Place.
Was it Astor Place?
Yep,
Okay, it may have
because
been.
I worked on Astor Place. It was right around the corner.
Okay, so wherever it was, whether it was they were walking up or coming south, traffic was so bad that The Cure walked the
I didn't
entire.
know that.
They did the record signing, and they got in their little cars, and they're like, Jesus Christ, there's so much traffic that they walked from the record signing, which I thought was on 50th Street, but I don't know. Chris White will have to tell us because he was with them. They walked, and nobody said a word. Nobody
That's
saw them.
amazing.
Isn't that funny?
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
I have pictures of myself holding up signed, uh, my signed ad that I got done that day. It was
From
the
the
first
record
time
signing?
yeah,
So it was at Tower Records.
yeah. It was definitely a tower on Astor because I went when I got out of work. I made my sister stay in line all day
Oh, that's amazing.
because I couldn't because I was working.
Oh, you know the
So
other
when I
thing.
got out of work, I went and took my place.
Oh,
What was
that's
that?
awesome. I was just gonna say, I just
Yes.
remember there's probably gonna be roller skating in Central Park in the summer. There's too much to do in New York. It's too much to do. If anyone out there wants to send me the list of their favorite restaurants, that's fine. But you really gotta hone in. There, you can get any kind of cuisine that you want.
Oh yeah.
Anything, anything at all. Does anyone else have a question? Last call. So, Angel, you are going. You have your special chase. You have like you said, you like to go to listen to The Cure and not see them. So you have like a little.
Yeah, I get worried about being able to dance because that's all I really want. So I got a suite for each night at Madison Square Garden, so no one can bitch at me because it's my
So no
fucking
one
suite.
can bitch at you. Oh,
Excuse
you
me,
mean the
sorry, I said
audience?
a bad word. Um, yeah, so I got a whole bunch of people to join in with me, and so that we can all dance and have fun. I have
Um,
one space left on Monday. That's all I've got left.
yeah.
So I
So
get to spend every Cure show in New York with only fantastic fans, which I'm really excited about.
yeah, and I'm gonna be open to new experiences. But my thing with MSG is to me it just feels stale. But it's not. It's a great venue. I mean, the sound is great, and no matter where you are, you're gonna get the sound and the experience of Madison Square Garden. I just wish in some ways I could still see them. I thank God I saw them in Radio City Music Hall and Beacon and all that. It's just different, and I just love those places so much more. But I mean, they're just so goddamn popular that what else are they gonna do, right?
Yeah. I mean, even this was never enough.
It's never enough. Oh, and also I wanted to say for anyone who's discouraged, can you please pass on to your friends? I'm trying to look up what my friend said he's gonna do with, because he got kicked out of. He had Madison Square Garden seats, and he got kicked out recently. You know how Ticketmaster is fixing the problem, and they're. Anyway, so this is what
They
he said.
canceled his ticket.
They canceled his tickets, even though he was on the verified fan and he did the wait list and he didn't scalp any tickets. So he says his friends are calling Ticketmaster, and he said, I'm going to sit in the cancellation line to see if any are dropped. And I said, what does that mean, the cancellation line? And he said, on the day of the show, Madison Square Garden releases canceled seats. Sorry, on the day of the show, Madison Square Garden releases canceled seats. I've gotten tickets for a few shows by waiting in line for a few hours until their box office opens, and if they have any leftover tickets, you'll get them at face value. That's stressful and it sucks, but it's just, I have other friends who actually buy tickets when the show is starting, like Twilight Sad, because again, it's New York, people are busy, plans change, and I really feel like if you're scared about a ticket and you just try to have faith, you will get in, and if it takes hanging out at, the pre-parties and saying, help, I don't have a ticket, somebody's going to help you. Yeah?
It will happen.
I really think a lot of celebs will be at these shows. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But that's me. That's just me. That's just a Rusha punk rock girl.
I mean, they'll all be down front, though, anyway.
And that's fine. That's cool.
Hollywood Bowl, too.
Hollywood Bowl, too. But yeah, hella celebs. I saw Dave Gahan, fangirling right now. I saw Dave Gahan outside of a Nick Cave show. And what was funny, it was at the Beacon. And so my friends and I had done like a pre-gathering at a bar. And we were walking just 2 blocks over to the Beacon. And I heard Dave's voice, and it's kind of echoing, bouncing, because he was with his girlfriend or something. And I was like, oh my, oh. So I'm like running after him like a stalker, like a kind of fast walking.
Oh my God.
And so he gets up to the front, and I'm just like, and I just took some photos, It was so nerdy. I didn't say anything to him, but I was like, whew. Dave, why you cost so much now?
I know. It's like, the only time I think I've ever seen him in the wild was when he and Martin were going into Rockefeller Center to see the Cure's taping of Saturday Night Live,
right,
500 years ago. And what was I going to say about him? You were talking about taking a picture, and
that Dave Gahan's very sexy. Are there any English people watching who can mock my mocking accent?
Oh, I know what I was going to say about it. Yeah, I have a feeling that he won't be attending any Cure shows anytime soon.
Well, he's on tour.
Yeah, but like I gather that they used to be friends, but I wonder if they're as tight as they used to be.
Yeah, he's
I mean,
on tour right
Robert
now.
has definitely called him out.
Dave Gahan?
More or less.
We'll leave that to the celebrities. All right, it's been an hour and a half. thank you so much for joining Angel and I, and we look forward to seeing you in New York City. I actually don't know whether I'm going to the gigs or not, and that's purely on me. I'm trying to focus my money on other places first, but I will be at the pre-parties, and I'll probably go to a show or two. I'm trying to get to other cities because I feel like if I can't get in, I live here, so I can just go home or whatever, be with fans.
Can always come party with the weirdos anyway.
That's right.
And for me, hanging with the fans is like, it's almost as good as the show. I love hanging with other Cure fans. It is my favorite thing.
It sort of blows up your world. It makes your world so much bigger than it already is.
Yeah, it's a blast. It's like the equivalent of like when we used to sleep on the street and wait for the concert tickets, and you'd meet all like the other people that were really into what you're into, and we don't get to do that anymore. So like this is the equivalent of that.
I know we don't get to sleep, but with the rats and the garbage.
But somehow it always turned out to be kind of fun, right?
Of
I don't know. I thought it
course,
was
of
fun.
course, because it's a pilgrimage. I mean, that's, I'm glad we're talking about this now because it's like, always remember that we need awe in our life. We need love. We need awe. And some people climb a mountain to experience awe, right? Which is beautiful. But some people follow a band and some people travel the oceans and the seas and rent cars and struggle for this moment of awe.
I think that's a great point.
And we all need it, and it's so fucking beautiful.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Angel.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. See you in New